Hi everyone, this is another topical issue session. I'm going to talk about why people who were once enslaved love Jesus with a passion. That is going to be my topic today. I was wondering why people in places where enslavement had been mostly are convertees of Christianity and Jesus, and also try to find out why it is that mostly in colonized places we ended up having large number of people becoming Christians. And I stumbled upon this in all religious books, all visitations, starting from Hinduism, Buddhism, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. There is no book that categorically talks against enslavement. In fact, you come to, let me say the one that I'm very familiar with, Christianity. Let's say we go to the Torah, and you even find things outlined how to deal with a slave who is of a Jewish origin, that on the 7th year they should all be let free, meaning that it had not been outlawed in religion to have a slave. So the business of slaves went on unabated and everybody felt that it was a right to have a slave. A slave was an animal of burden, just like you had a horse, a mule, or a donkey. The only difference with this animal of burden is that its life mirrored that of the master. It had a wife, it had children, it had family attachments, but the master could do anything about those family attachments at will, could pass any sentence he wanted on the slave, could even kill them, and was not questionable to anybody. So as time went by and colonization became the fashion, colonized places had their rights, the rights of the indigenous people oppressed. But then this time the colonizers had another problem, because when Judaism grew up, a rabbi by the name Yeshua, or Jesus Christ, came up with a brand that had been given by God that was different. It talked of loving one another as one loved oneself. But by saying rabbi means teacher. That's what they even refer to him in the New Testament. People refer to him as rabbi. So this rabbi had teachings that were unique. He stressed on people loving God like they love themselves, more than with all their heart, their mind, and everything, and loving their neighbors like they love themselves. Out of that Judaism sect, the followers of Jesus, who went to a place called Corinth, were called by people there a name to degrade them. They called them Christians. So that was the beginning of Christianity. A derogatory name in Corinth, a name to abuse them. That became the beginning of Christianity. So when you hear of Christianity, that is how it began. The teachings of Jesus had encompassed all the people who took Christianity. And most of the people, the countries that were colonizing were those who believed in Christianity. So they came to realize that this animal of burden just had emotions like them, could understand things, had language like them, And later, on following this, they realized that this was just a human being like themselves. So they tried to run away from that fact. In the Americas, they ended up with a slave Bible, but it could not calm their conscience. That guilt was there. Eventually, people went to the House of Commons and passed a law against slave trade. And during slavery, during colonization, when the indigenous people resisted, that thing came to the colonizers, that this was their land, they are people like us. And Jesus says we should love one another like we love ourselves. If it were us whose land has been taken, what would we have done? So in most cases, there was fighting. They had superior weapons, but when they realized there was resistance, they left without much fighting. So when we look at independence in most places, it is because of the teachings of this rabbi, Jesus Christ. It dissolved the hardness in the hearts of the colonizers, the oppressors, the slave keepers, even during the time of slaves. In America, there was a war where now people who were slave keepers fought to liberate the slaves. It is because of this man Jesus that this was possible. That's why people who were once enslaved loved Jesus with a passion. I'm going to end this by saying that it was exemplified after Americans of African origins, who mostly had gone there as slaves, ended up having, for the first time, a president from their origin. And this is what a president who had been a seed of the former slaves sang. A song written by a slave trader, John Newton, a slave trader. Amazing grace, how sweet thou art, thou saved a wretch like me. I was once lost, but now I'm found. Blind, but now I see. That is the power that was in the teaching of the Rabbi Jesus, who we call the Messiah. I beg to end there. Jesus saved, freed people many years, even after his death and the resurrection. And his word is still doing that. It is saving us from the slavery of sin. Please receive help and be saved by the word of Jesus, the blood of Jesus. That's why people who were once enslaved, people who were once colonized, people who were once, who have, even now who are oppressed, find solace in the teaching of the word of the Rabbi, the Lord, the Messiah, Yeshua, Jesus Christ. That ends my topic for today.